What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to Sportskeeda MMA News. Tony Ferguson claims that lightweight GOAT Khabib Nurmagomedov is still running from him. Ferguson also calls out Dana White for acting like a drug dealer. Justin Gaethje calls Charles Oliveira a coward, doubling down on the time he said Oliveira had no heart. Paddy Pimblett talks about not rushing in his UFC title run and reveals he makes far more money outside the octagon. And UFC legend Cowboy Cerrone gets real about his UFC career. All this and more on today's edition of Sportskeeda MMA News. If you see any of your favorite fighters mentioned in today's video, make sure to blast that like button. Let's get started. El Cucuy is back, and his patented shit talk is music to our ears. Former interim champion Tony Ferguson makes his octagon return against Iron Michael Chandler this Saturday at UFC 274 and seems to be more focused than ever. After a 3-fight skid to Justin Gaethje, lightweight champion Charles Oliveira, and Beneil Dariush, the MMA world has been a bit nervous for the 26-6 Ferguson, who hasn't looked like the Tony who went on a 12-fight rampage of the lightweight division before falling from grace. Ferguson has an explanation for that. Ferguson recently spoke with former double champion Daniel Cormier and gave a reason his last fights have gone poorly. Here's what Ferguson had to say.
If you watched the movie Prestige for a long time, right? The old man that had the fishbowl trick, he had to act like doing the same thing for a very long time to make people believe that's how he got the trick done. So I'm gonna be real, the last couple of fights I didn't prepare like I should have, and I didn't take the opportunities I wanted to. I'm not gonna say on purpose, but I wanna be real, there was enough film out there for Khabib to take a fight, and the still running.
Don't worry, Tony, we're all a little salty that your fight with Khabib fell through like 1,000 times. Ferguson then went on to add that the COVID-19 pandemic was partly responsible for his performances due to the scarcity of training partners at that time. Add some mental hurdles and poor training structures and you get the Tony Ferguson of late. But Ferguson plans to bury that version of himself this Saturday. What are your thoughts on Tony Ferguson's recent hurdles? Leave a comment down below and you might be featured in tomorrow's video. We're not done with Tony just yet. If you thought his quick Khabib call-out was funny, just wait until he lays into UFC president Dana White. Ferguson sat down during the UFC 274 media week and had more than a few unsavory words to say about the UFC restricting his lifelong goals and overall ability to make some money. Needless to say, Ferguson was not happy with Uncle Dana. Here's what he had to say.
I think we're underpaid personally. I'm gonna be real, I'm not gonna say it too much. You know what I mean? I asked Dana to box. He said, no. I want to go play baseball. I want to go do other pro sports. I'm an athlete. I grew up playing different different sports at a very high level. We're in a state championship football ring right here. We were 27-1. I want to go do, pro wrestling. I got Brock, Uncle Brock, that's right there watching me. I want to go do all these couple things, but then I have this guy right here acting like a drug dealer telling me I can't go and do this shit. I want to go make more money for my family.
Harsh words from the man who ran through the entire division before getting a title shot against Khabib Nurmagomedov. Undefeated pro boxer Jake Paul, who's been a loud critic of White and the UFC fighter pay structure, echoed Ferguson's comments on Twitter. He said, "Don't listen to me, listen to a UFC fighter. Tony Ferguson, who has the courage to speak up. Dana White is a billionaire while fighters are itching and clawing to make ends meet. Dana White, the drug dealer." What do you think? Do you think Dana White will publicly respond to Tony Ferguson? They call him the highlight because he's knocked out 19 opponents in 26 fights, usually in devastating fashion. Do we even have to remind you the way he put Edson Barboza to sleep? Justin Gaethje spoke ahead of his massive title fight with reigning champion Charles Oliveira this Saturday, and he sang the same tune he's been saying for a few months now. Gaethje has openly criticized Oliveira for failing to demonstrate heart or courage in some of his fights, citing Cowboy Cerrone and Anthony Pettis as examples of opponents who made Oliveira quit. Then Gaethje compared Oliveira to his former opponent Khabib Nurmagomedov, who put Gaethje to sleep right before retiring at UFC 254. Here's what he had to say.
They're definitely not the same athlete, and Charles certainly is not more dangerous than Khabib. His ability to take damage is not the same, proven through the times we've seen him fight. All my criticism of Charles is from a kid that we were talking about, that we all watched grow, and now we're talking about a man with confidence. It's a different person, but ultimately, the same Charles is still there.
Then Gaethje responded to the claim that Oliveira does not quit anymore, especially after Oliveira's comeback title fight win against Michael Chandler. Here's what Gaethje said.
I think that's true. However, once a coward, always a coward. I'm not calling him a coward, but I'm saying you can't just take that away. It's there. Khabib never showed you that, and that's why you can't compare those two.
The 23-3 Gaethje secured his title shot against Oliveira by putting on an absolute show against Michael Chandler at UFC 268. He's held the interim title before and failed to unify. Now there's a good chance the headline this Sunday will read Justin Gaethje, the new UFC lightweight champion. What do you think? Do you agree with Gaethje that the old Oliveira is still inside of him? UFC superstar Paddy Pimblett really likes to let himself go after his insane performances inside the octagon. But you can't judge the man who's finished his first 2 UFC fights in stunning fashion. Paddy the Baddy sat down with former UFC heavyweight Brendan Schaub on Food Truck Diaries and discussed the pressure he faces in his UFC career. After knocking out Luigi Vendramini in his debut and submitting Kazula Vargas at UFC London after almost getting finished, Pimblett has cited pressure from fans to fast-track his way to UFC Gold. But Pimblett doesn't think that's necessary. Here's what he had to say. I make more money outside the octagon, and it makes me laugh when people are commenting on my stuff saying he's not active enough, he doesn't fight enough, he should be fighting 4 times a year. Why? Why should I fight 4 times a year when I'm making more outside the cage than I am in it? I've had people tweeting me in the past few weeks saying we want to see him versus Makhachev, we want to see him versus Tony Ferguson, we want to see him versus Gaethje. I'm like, what? I'll be fighting them in about 3 years, chill out. The 18-3 Pimblett has been part of some recent UFC matchup leaks, rumored to be fighting undefeated Otman Azaitar next, which is definitely no easy task for Pimblett. What do you think? Do you think Pimblett's plan of taking it slow is a good idea? While you're still here, subscribe to Sportskeeda MMA and hit that bell. And last but not least, we should all pay attention when a legend like Donald Cerrone speaks, especially when he drops some wisdom. Cowboy is fighting a fellow UFC legend in Joe Lozon this Saturday in what will be his 55th professional MMA fight. The 36-16 Cerrone has fought absolutely everyone across the lightweight and welterweight divisions, including Conor McGregor, who battered Cerrone in just 40 seconds. Now, after suffering a 6-fight winless streak, his career is at a crossroads. Cerrone spoke during Media Week for UFC 274 and had this to say about his 1-year layoff since losing to Alex Morono last year. Here's what he said. I took a break because everyone says getting into the UFC is like the most important thing they could ever do in their life, and I agree with them on that. But when they get here, they seem to put the brakes on and kind of quit. Like they make it all the way here, and they do so hard to get here, and then put the brakes on. And I caught myself ridiculing these kids for doing that. And then I was doing the exact same thing. They say that it's hard to be hungry when you're full, and I agree. It's almost hard to imagine the UFC without Cowboy Cerrone, but there's a chance he hangs his gloves up for good this Saturday. Is this it? What do you think? Do you think this will be Cowboy Cerrone's retirement fight? That about does it for Sportskeeda MMA news. Here are some of the best comments from today. Yikes, Gilbert is about to bury him. It makes more sense for Jorge to fight Luque than Burns. Chandler versus Ferguson is gonna be a bloodbath. Hashtag UFC 274. Islam versus Dariush, winner fights the loser of Olives and Gaethje, then title shot. Only logical route. If you like this video, please like, comment, and share. Your comments could be featured in the next Sportskeeda MMA news video. We always deliver daily content, so make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything going on in the MMA world. For updates, quotes, and exclusive interviews from all your favorite fighters, follow Sportskeeda MMA on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for tuning in.